over here.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
You guys ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Today is Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Here.
Mayor Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Pratt.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski and Councilmember Martin Pontiac are absent. City Manager.
Here.
City Attorney.
Here.
DPW Director.
Here.
Finance Director.
Here.
Community Development Director.
Here.
Police Chief.
Here.
Fire Chief.
Here.
City Engineer.
Here.
Roll call complete.
Thank you. Just a quick note, the 2024 Manistee Boat Fest has been canceled, therefore 9D of the agenda will be removed. Public hearings. On the adoption of brownfield plan for property at 144 Washington Street in the city of Manistee. The purpose of the public hearing is to afford an opportunity for all citizens and parties to provide comments on the adoption of the proposed brownfield plan for 144 Washington Street LLC redevelopment project. At this time, the public is invited to speak on the proposed brownfield plan for 141 Washington LLC redevelopment project. Limited to 5 minutes. No action is anticipated at the conclusion of this public hearing. However, this matter is on the agenda for consideration later in the evening. Is there anybody that would like to speak?
275 First Street, Andrew Stafford. I'm the Director of Economic Development at the Manistee Area Chamber of Commerce and the point person for the Downtown Development Authority. This morning, we held a special meeting for a consideration to pass a resolution to kind of forfeit our TIF dollars so this brownfield plan can take place. That did get passed this morning by the DDA, and I really just want to emphasize how important this project is for our community, as that property has really sat vacant, to my understanding, for over 20 years. And if we could see that property activated, you know, there's been land bank buy-in, there's been state buy-in, and if passing this brownfield plan is what's able to bring this project to fruition, I really want to see it get across the line, and I think this is an excellent project, an excellent way we can support our community moving forward and activating all of the downtown district, as well as just a great project for the whole community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, public hearing has ended at 7:03. Citizens' comments on agenda-related items, limited to 5 minutes. Anybody?
Madam Mayor and respective council members, thank you so much for allowing us to speak tonight. My name is Deanna Marsh with Neva Schaefer. Thank you. And we're talking tonight on the behalf of the City Fall Festival coming up in October. Thank you. October 26th. Thank you. Thank you. So the reason we're approaching you tonight is for support of the Fall Festival, and also because we are asking for the street to be closed between the Vogue Theater and TJ's for the amount of people that we host at this festival. Last year, we handed out candy to 1,500 children, 3,000 with their, adults or caregivers or everybody else that came around, like 3,000 people. And so there's going to be events being held in the Manistee and the Marina, which will be closed off. So for the safety value, safety factor of this event, we're asking for your support to be able to close down the street. The hours that we're closing it down are 12 to 4. There's also some really cool events going on. There's the merchant trick-or-treating. There's going to be some cornhole events. We'll be utilizing the social district downtown from 12 to 2.
Live music.
Live music.
Much like the TJ's block parties have been. We wanted to kind of structure around that. That worked so well. So we wanted a focal area this year that everyone and the families could kind of go to versus the kids just going up and down the street and darting across the street and such. So we wanted it to be a little more organized since it's getting so large.
We're really marketing this as a family-friendly event, so to keep our family and our kiddos safe, we are asking for the road to be closed down for a short period of time on that day. Also, just want your support on the event moving forward. This has been an event that's been going on now 3 years in a row, and it has grown all 3 years. We're hoping 4th year and 5th year. We're just hoping to grow this for our community and our downtown. It's more of a community event.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
for our
It's not a big
families
shopping
and-
event. It's for
Right.
the families, local families to come down and enjoy and to spend time in our downtown and dress up if they want, Halloween trick or treat. That's been going on for many years before this, but this is just more of an extension of that. And it's been very successful the last few years, just kind of under the radar. Angie and I from the library have been kind of doing it, and we really wanted to expand on it. We have Deanna and 5 other committee members that are working on it with us, so.
Yeah. And it's not only for kiddos. If you adult want some candies, come get, no, I'm joking. Anyways, so we're just asking for council support, for city support. Thank you. Do you have any questions regarding the event? Okay. Thank you for hearing us.
Anybody else? Okay, consent agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are on the consent considered by the city manager to be routine matters. Prior to approval, any member of council may have an item removed and taken up during the regular portion of the meeting. Items include payroll, invoices, cash balances, revenue and expenses, consideration of ordinance 24-08, repeal of chapter 1028 River Street traffic flow, parking and amenities of the city of Manistee codified ordinances, consideration of 2024 bike night, consideration of TJ's block party and concert, consideration of the Manistee Fall Festival and banner permit. At this time, council could take action to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
I'll second.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of a brownfield plan for the 141 Washington LLC redevelopment project. Early this evening, a public hearing was held on proposed brownfield plan for the 141 Washington LLC redevelopment project. The City of Manistee Brownfield Redevelopment Authority has approved the Brownfield Plan. Public Act 381 of 1996 requires a municipality where the project is located to also approve the plan. At this time, council could take action to adopt a resolution approving the Brownfield Plan, the 141 Washington LLC redevelopment project. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I will second that.
Any discussion?
I just have a question. Is there a timeline that we're looking at for the project? Things can get complicated, and sometimes the public thinks that just because we approve it, then that means it starts right away. So I didn't know if we could get a little.
So, Councilmember Pratt, I have the developer, Kevin Schaefer, here, and I also have our consultant from Fishbeck, Kirk Perschbacher. And Kevin can answer the questions on the timeline, and Kirk or I can answer any questions if you have specifics about the brownfield plan. So I'll turn it over to Kevin. Thanks.
Good evening. It's a great question. And typically, we're doing this project almost in 2 phases because of the way that the grant dollars are kind of coming in and flowing in. With the land bank blight and stabilization, which is really the most urgent need to kind of redo the whole outside of the building, everything that's blighted, because the building's really not, as we sit and this process draws out, the building's deteriorating. Still, over the past couple of years that I've owned it, it's gotten worse. And it's going to continue to get worse. So we are doing everything we can to get that work started ASAP, like hopefully in the fall. I mean, that's my plan. We were hoping to get it a little sooner, but the RFP's taking a little longer. And that's kind of on our end, just to kind of parse out what is part of blight and what's not part of blight. So once that goes live to bid, we could start, as soon as the bids come back and contractors can begin. So with any luck, hopefully that starts in the fall, and then that takes about 6 or 7 months, get us into the new year, and then fingers crossed. My plan was to have this done by Christmas of 2025.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of a development and reimbursement agreement for 141 Washington LLC redevelopment agreement. Earlier this evening, a public hearing was held on the proposed brownfield plan for the 141 Washington LLC development project. Council also considered approving the brownfield plan as part of the approval process for the project. A development and reimbursement agreement between the city, developer, and brownfield redevelopment authority needs to be approved. At this time, council could take action to enter into a development and reimbursement agreement with 141 Washington LLC in the city of Manistee Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and further authorize the mayor to execute this agreement. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan. Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of collective bargaining agreement with the POAM union. At this time, council could take action to approve a 3-year collective bargaining agreement with the Police Officers Association of Michigan and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the documents. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second that motion.
Any discussion?
I just want to say that I looked at those. It's a very good contract. And I would hope that it would make the chief's job easier in recruiting and retaining employees. So hopefully you'll have some success with this.
And the contract seems to be pretty in line with what I've seen as far as even on the state level, so it's fair.
So I'll just,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's, yeah, it kind of filled our goals with retention and recruitment with the drop. Also, it does bring us in line with our comparables. So it is a richer contract than usual, but with the inflation, and this does cycle us through all the unions through this kind of time of adjustment. So, thank you.
Thank you. Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of collective bargaining agreement with the COAM union. At this time, council could take action to approve a 3-year collective bargaining agreement with the Command Officers Association of Michigan and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute those documents. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Consideration of adopting a MERS deferred retirement option plan for the POAM and COAM, the Police Officers Association of Michigan, Command Officers Association of Michigan, and the city have agreed through contract negotiations to adopt a deferred retirement option plan for the 2 POAM divisions and the 2 COAM divisions. 3 adoption agreements must be passed to implement this plan. At this time, council could take action to approve the adoption agreements implementing MERS deferred retirement options plans for MERS POAM divisions 2 and 21. MERS,
Make that motion.
hold on a second. COAM divisions 20 and 22. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I just have one question. Ed, I had a citizen ask me a question, and what does the impact of this on our MERS plan? And I couldn't intelligently answer that question based on what I read.
That's an excellent question. When we put the data to MERS for them to do their actuarial valuation, we asked them to run a couple different scenarios. And the scenario that we're presenting to council is what's called the cost neutral option. So it basically has no impact. It does not increase our accrued liability in the pension plan. So actuarially, it's neutral.
The answer I gave them, but they didn't buy it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of adopting the 2023 Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan for Manistee County. The 2023 Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan for the Manistee County was approved by FEMA, now needs to be adopted by the municipalities that participated in the process of creating the plan. The plan was passed by Manistee County Board of Commissioners on May 21st, 2024. At this time, council will take action to adopt the 2023 Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan for Manistee County. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second that.
Any discussion? Heather, would you, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
In case there are any questions, I wanted to be here, and
Any questions?
no questions?
Nope. Okay.
Hope to never use it, right?
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of a contract with Housing North for capacity building to assist with administration and implementation of the Manistee Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Chill Home Improvement Grant. City of Manistee has a 3-year agreement with Housing North for a Housing Ready Coordinator, Tracy Davis, to help implement initiatives identified in the 2019 City of Manistee Housing Action Plan. The City of Manistee and Housing North collaborated and applied for the MSHDA CDBG Chill Home Improvement Grant. It was awarded on October 13th, 2024 in the amount of $500,000. Despite the current agreement with Housing North, the state of Michigan, as part of the Chill Grant, is requiring an additional contract between the city and Housing North to allow for Tracy Davis to assist the city with administering and implementing the grant. No additional funds will be paid to Housing North for their assistance beyond the original contract for this. At this time, council could take action to approve the contract with the Housing North for administration and implementation of MSHD MSHDA CDBG Chill Home Improvement Grant and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute this agreement. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I was wondering if we could just get an update on what's going on and how is this going to look moving forward?
Yes, excuse me. So we did have a meeting about 2 weeks ago with the state of Michigan. We do have a new representative, so that's kind of encouraging. They've had a lot of people in and out kind of leaving, so that's been a little bit of a disappointment and another setback for us. But we have met with them, and we do have our application ready to be submitted to the state for their review. After they review that, and I'm not sure about how long it takes, 2 or 3 weeks, we're thinking. And then once that comes back to us, then we'll be ready to let everybody know that we've got the application, we can move forward and everything else. And this, like I said, with requesting this, with Tracy Davis, this is no extra funding, nothing else that's gonna affect the grant or anything. This is just something that the state required for have a third contractor or a third party contractor help us. So, but that's where we're at. So we'll keep you definitely posted on that. So it's getting closer.
Good. We've got a lot of residents who are interested in taking part in this, so I just want to make sure that we get the word out as soon as we can. And
yep, and
moving
actually
on it.
we've compiled the list, so we've got everybody's email addresses, we've got postcards already, all of that's going to be sending out. So
okay, great.
Yep.
Thanks.
So I have a
You're
question.
welcome.
Because I think other people have heard it too from the community.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of people that are like, is that money gone? And, you know, we've had to try to explain that there's been some hurdles to overcome. And
Yes.
but my thought is, once this is approved, is there gonna be a gap window so then communication can go out to the public so that somebody can't come back and say, I didn't know? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yes. Once we do
Sorry.
release that, it's going to be a couple weeks that it's
Okay.
open, but we're going to make sure that we hit Facebook, Instagram, the news, the radio, the paper.
Okay.
We've got everybody's mailing, email, all of that, city website, anything that we can do.
Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect.
Yep.
Sorry, one more question.
Sure.
You think of it when you said that. So because this was granted a while back, are we going to have a grace, like, are they going to be able to extend the period of when this needs to be done based on
Yes.
when we actually get started?
Yes, exactly. Yep. And they haven't given us those timelines, but they
Okay.
know that they have to work with us with that, definitely.
Okay.
Right.
How many people are on that list?
Right now, it's about 250 people we have on the list that are, yes, asking for it, questions, emails,
And I don't
phone calls, all of that.
This is gonna be a big ask or big, just kind of a statement, you know, I think weekly we get asked about the Chill Grant.
Yes.
Any way you could do an email blast to those blind copy and say, hey,
Actually, we do, because now that we've got them all compiled and ready,
good.
and I've got a staff assistant that's been
Excellent.
great in helping, and Tracy Davis and I have been working our tails off doing that, but absolutely, actually, we're gonna be doing that. With that, it also, the AMI has increased a little bit, so we're able to tell people that. There might be another group that's gonna be able to say, hey, we're gonna be able to do this now because we just were at that threshold, and now we're gonna be able to make it. So that we just found out too, so we'll be sending that out.
excellent work, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of designating a voting delegate for the Michigan Municipal League annual meeting. The annual convention for the Michigan Municipal League, MML, will be held on September 11th through the 13th, 2024. Pursuant to provisions of the league bylaws, we are requested to designate by action of governing body one official who will be attendance at the convention as an official representative to cast the vote of the city of Manistee and at the annual meeting, and if possible, to designate one other official to serve as an alternate. Mayor Sullivan, Councilmember Smith, and Councilmember Lundberg will be attending this convention. At this time, council to take action to appoint a voting delegate and an alternate for the MML annual convention. If you make a motion, just whoever you want to be the voting delegate.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I'd like Mayor Sullivan to be the voting member and Councilmember Lundberg to be the alternate.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Sorry, let me just. And that was, yes.
We don't need those separately, do we?
Nope, they can
Okay.
be together.
Okay.
Councilmember Bachmann?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg?
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of applications to boards and commissions. The city clerk has taken action to advertise vacancies on the Board of Review, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, Compensation Commission, PEG Commission, and Tree Commission. Mayoral and managerial appointments require a motion, second, and council voted support. Nominations for council appointments do not require a second. After all nominations are made, council votes on the nominees until one nominee receives the majority of support. Appointments are not made by boards and commissions. The following applications have been received. Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, one vacancy term ending 6/30/27. The purpose to promote revitalization of environmentally distressed and functionally obsolete areas. I would like to appoint Nicholas Lucina, 374 8th Street, for the appointments of 6/30/2027. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg?
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. So for the appointment of Tree Commission, I will not be making an appointment this evening. There's some issues that were brought to my attention that I need some clarification on, so that appointment will be on the next month's agenda. Okay, so we have a quick special presentation. So, Chief Glass, we have a resolution of acknowledgement and appreciation, City of Manistee Police Department accreditation from the Michigan Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. Whereas the Manistee City Police Department was accredited by the Michigan Law Enforcement Accreditation Program on February 6, 2024, after extensive 3-year accreditation process. And whereas the diligent efforts of the Manistee Police Department helped to accomplish the accreditation goal, recognizing in particular Chief Joshua Glass and important contributions of the accreditation managers, Officer Christopher Franskowiak, Sergeant Douglas Van Sickle, and Detective Sergeant Kirsten Goodspeed. And whereas Chief Josh Glass demonstrated confidence in his staff, inspiring them to do their best work for the police department in the city of Manistee to accomplish the accreditation goal. And whereas the city council, the city manager, the city staff, and the residents acknowledge and appreciate the pursuit for excellence of the Manistee City Police Department. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the city of Manistee affirms our pride and our esteem for Chief Glass, our police sergeants and officers. I'm going to say it, not this resolution.
Real quick, thank you, humbled, for this acknowledgement. Great job by our team. I really appreciate the acknowledgement by city staff and council members. It means the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, now we will have a report from the Utilities Department in Manistee Blacker Airport. A regular part of each council meeting is to report the cooperating agency, organizations, or department limited to 15 minutes. We will start with Mr. Bruce Banks, City of Manistee Utilities Department.
Do you want water first or clean water?
Hello, I'm Bruce. I think I know most of you. If not, I'm Bruce Banks. I'm with the wastewater treatment plant now, or clean water recovery facility. Anyways, my staff there is myself. I've been here for 23 years. Sean Taylor, he followed me there last year. He's got 12 years of service. We have Jacob Montler and Jason Kaminsky, each with 2 years of service at the plant. This is our little footprint at 9th and Vine. It's kind of nice. We got deer, raccoons, skunks, and everything under the bridge, including the coyote here and there. I don't know where the top of that went, but last year we treated 364 million gallons of wastewater. That equals 996 gallons per day. As you see, the last 3 years, if you look at the graph, it's been pretty straightforward. That's due to the pipelining. That's where I put it more towards, and Mother Nature, but a lot of the sewer pipelining that we've done, and hopefully more in the future. The primary purpose of a wastewater treatment plant is to manage waste water discharges from homes, businesses, and industries by removing specific pollutants to acceptable levels. That's basically my job, to make sure that gets done. That process ensures compliance in national environmental and industry-related laws and regulations. Our plant is staffed 7 days a week. We operate 14 lift stations from Filer City to East Lake. We perform full laboratory 5 days a week, and we perform a variety of everything. This is the Sweetenham lift station, which is out on the end of 12th Street by Lake Michigan. Actually, these pictures were taken in February, believe it or not. Thank goodness the weather cooperated that day, because we were there for 2.5 days. But that involves people going down, rearranging the pumps, fixing what's ever going down there, and so on and so forth. And it's safety, as always, is firsthand. Our plant performance is based on removal of these things. It's BOD, which is biological oxygen demand. SS is suspended solids, ammonia, and phosphorus. You guys know about those. That's what's growing our weeds in all the lakes that we like to fish. Our lab is certified for water analysis, clean water, drinking water, I should say. Last year we performed 148 water analyses. These tests are known within 24 hours instead of several days afterwards when we had to ship them out. We do everything from, most of it's for James in the city water. Some we do the pool at the high school, and we also do it for Filer, and then some out in the county. One of our big pollutants that we try to get rid of is mercury. This is our PMP for pollutant minimization program. Our permit calls for a goal of less than 1.3 nanograms per liter, and a nanogram per liter is 1 part per trillion. So this is my little comparison on that. The average distance between Earth and the Moon is 240,000 miles. 1/trillionth of that distance is 15,000ths of an inch, and that's about the diameter of your hair. So that's what we're measuring. The average was well below last year. I just got to give you a quick thing. When I started here, I started for Ed Cody, and when he sent me out for the first time going to test for mercury, he looked out his window to make sure Morton's wasn't discharging out of one of their stacks. But since then, things have gone way forward now, and we don't have to worry about that, and all the dentist offices they got their own collection systems. We don't have to worry about that. The fish cleaning station, most of the fish goes to somewhere else. The blood comes to us, but we're making the best of it. That's where the mercury comes from. We do land application biosolids. That's our final sludge, as I'll call it, that has to go somewhere in the end. Last year we did a little over 1 million gallons of biosolids on 40 acres of farmland. It's just really good nutrition value for the soil. It's a good conditioner. It gives them nitrogen and phosphorus in the end. So basically they're getting free stuff. Yeah. Some of our completed projects last year the main one was the primary clarifier had failed, and that's our chain. There's two of them side by side. Chain and sprocket system, and that shifted. That was a $120,000 project with the help of Zupin. It took us about 2 months to get that done through the winter. End of January to March, we got that done, and now we're up and running. That should be good. Knock on wood, 20 years. We just replaced our laboratory samplers this spring. The new ones are awesome. I love them. The old ones are originally from 1980, and I have a feeling the new ones aren't going to last that long. As with everything else these days, a refrigerator, a washing machine, yeah. I am in the process right now of updating our ferric chloride system, including pumps, transfer pumps, injection pumps, and a holding tank. And I have all the equipment. I just got the last piece in, and we just started it today, actually, believe it or not. But the middle picture shows that's a 55-gallon barrel with our ferric chloride. We have been operating off that because we're putting more ferric in, because that helps with our phosphorus removal and some coagulant. Our new barrel will hold 175 gallons, and then we won't have to operate without known gallons pumped in. We just had a SCADA upgrade, us and the water department. This is a supervisory control and data acquisition program. It's pretty in-depth. What you see there is basic. This goes way in-depth to the point where we're still figuring it out and still having minor issues, but we're getting there, and it's very nice. The DR3900 we just purchased. This is a benchtop spectrometer. I'm sorry, I had this, and now I'm up here. Spectrometer, yeah. Anyways, it does phosphorus and ammonia. So at the plant, we don't have a certified laboratory chemist. Basically, you got, with me and the other three guys, you got 4 mechanics there. All right, so this makes our life easier to where it takes 95% of the human error out of it. You're just measuring at that point and injecting it. It's a little bit more expensive, but in the end, it's going to come out ahead. My upcoming project this year is the digester cover. Our final digester has been without a cover for almost 3 years now. The picture on the left, as I'm looking at it, is the cover that's going to be on the picture of the right. That's the big one. And that's our final digester. All that gets pumped into trucks and then shipped out to farm fields. In a warmer condition, we could probably go without a cover, but if we have a winter that is normal to Michigan, or what I like for ice fishing, let's get cold for a long time, then it would create a problem in there, and we'd start freezing on top and then create super problems back in the plant because we couldn't adjust levels constantly. And that's it. Any questions?
Glad to see you here, Bruce.
Nice to see you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Mr. Barry Lynn will report on the Manistee Blacker Airport.
Thank you, Council, for this opportunity to give you an update on what's going on out at the airport. I think I'll just start with a little bit of history and a little bit of overview as to what the city's involvement is with the airport. Since there are some new faces here that I have not had a chance to present to before, I thought I'd go back and talk a little bit things. I know I've mentioned this in years past in previous reports, but the airport used to be under the Airport Authority, jointly operated or jointly essentially owned by the city and the county. In approximately 1999, the city at that time wished to withdraw from the Airport Authority, and an agreement was put into place. And over a period of about 10 years, that city's involvement declined, and today, the last remaining component of that agreement is that the city gets to appoint one person to the Airport Authority Board, and your representative is George Becker. So that's a little bit of the history there, and why you still have some say in what the airport does. Next, I'll move on to kind of a overall status update. So our current commercial carrier is Cape Air. Last year was the second best year for passenger numbers in the history of the airport. Each year Cape Air has been here. They're concluding their 4th year of service. Each year they've been here, their numbers have gone up. They've actually did very well last year. This year, year to date so far, they're up 18% over last year. In fact, June was their best month in their service period, so almost over 3.5 years of service. And that's actually surprising because July and August are our strongest months in general. So June being their best month was actually very remarkable. And in July, they beat their June number by over 10%. So they've had now a couple very strong months back to back. And what we're seeing is most flights, well over 50% of flights are sold out throughout the summer. We had one period a couple weeks ago where we had 32 flights in a row sold out. So Cape Air is doing very well. General aviation, that's all the other stuff that goes on out there, is also been up. It helped that Ludington's airport was closed for about 4 weeks, so we got a lot of overflow from that in end of May and June. And you know, me personally, I'm looking forward to anticipating that general aviation growth to continue growing. I suspect when Arcadia Bluffs completes their expansion project that that's only going to add to the draw of that whole set of properties. That is a big draw for people coming into their county and visiting us. Next, I want to talk a little bit about funding for the airport. You know, there's county funds coming in, there's fees and revenues for various things, but when it comes to capital projects, most of our funding is federally based. And the formulas for that funding are based on the number of passengers we have. The magic number that we are striving for is to get to 10,000 enplanements, which is 10,000 passengers boarding aircraft here in Manistee. We're currently at 6. This year I'm hoping, actually through maybe some tweaking of some things, maybe we can get to 8. Which would actually take us to the 2nd tier of funding. 10,000 gets us to the 3rd tier. Those funding levels aren't linear by any means. If you're under 8,000, you get $150,000 a year. If you get up to 8,000 enplanements, you get $600,000, and if you get up to 10,000, you get $1 million a year. Since we're at the $150,000 a year funding level, we're generally then scrambling for funding through various federal programs to actually meet the needs of the airport. I would estimate that our capital needs on an annual basis are between $600,000 and $1 million for projects that we need to be planning out for. So there's a big gap there. So then switching over and talking about our current projects. So we currently have a project that is a this year project, although construction is going to most likely be next spring. We are regrading our safety areas. This is a inspection item that came out of an inspection actually about 3 years ago, and design process and really funding is what's been holding it up. We're replacing our runway lighting on our main runway, and we're replacing the airport beacon, which has been out of service now for about a year. That project is going to be about a $2 million project. So again, with $150,000 of funding a year, if you put a couple years together, we're relying on additional federal funding to make that happen, knock on wood. That project is designed. It went out for bids in June. Bids came in, and the application for that federal funding was July 15th, so now we're just waiting to see, crossing our fingers, that funding comes through so that this project can move forward. So that's what we're currently focused on. We've got another small project this year that is state funded. We'll be crack sealing all of our pavements and remarking the markings on our runways. Looking forward a little bit in the future, our next major project will be a complete reconstruction of our taxiway, our main taxiway, which historically was the old runway, and that runway became the taxiway, and a new runway was constructed back in '99. That project, think about it like you're doing a major building project, and if you actually touch too much stuff, then you have to bring everything up to current codes. So a reconstruction requires us to now meet all current standards, which will probably end up doubling the size of that project. Right now, that's estimated to be about a $7 million project, and it is currently scheduled for next year, but I just know realistically with funding, it'll be at least 2 years out before that can happen. The other major project that we're looking at is updates to the terminal and upgrades to the terminal. As a result of the bipartisan infrastructure bill at the federal government level, there was a set aside of extra funding for terminals. We're trying to get a project put together to request funding from that program. And if you've been to the airport, you say, oh, it's a new building. Well, it's actually now over 15 years old, and it's starting to need some things. And what I'll talk about next is there are other hopeful things coming that will require us to need more space, hopefully. So that then turns my attention to our air carrier selection process. So the service we have is federally subsidized. We're in the Essential Air Service Program. One of about 100 airports in the lower 48 states that participate in that program that basically guarantee us a certain minimal level of air service. Cape Air's contract for that is, they're actually now in the second 2-year contract under that program, and that contract ends the end of September. So we are in the process of determining who will provide service post that contract. We started that process back in January with some special board meetings that the board conducted to kind of talk through what our goals were in looking for our next carrier. In February, US DOT put out a RFP for that service. Those responses came in March, and there were 3 carriers that had bids for that service. One being our current carrier, Cape Air, a second being a carrier similar to Cape Air, operating small 9-seat aircraft called Boutique, and then a third operator called Contour. If you've been following things, you may have noticed that the Airport Authority Board had some difficult decisions to make in that process. They first recommended Boutique. Then approximately 3-4 weeks later, they changed their mind and decided to recommend going with Contour. That was all submitted to US DOT. We don't get to decide. We get to make a recommendation. That process is still outstanding. In fact, this week there is likely to go out a letter from both US Congresspersons that represent parts of Manistee County, trying to encourage DOT to speed up the process because the end of September is coming around quick. even though end of September is coming around quick, we won't have a gap in air service. If the new carrier is either not selected or hasn't had time to start up operations, then the current carrier is required to continue providing service for an extended period of time until all of those things can get wrapped up. But it does introduce uncertainty in the traveling public is who do I book with? Who should I book? Should I book now? Should I wait? And I'm already fielding those questions, so we don't like any of that. So that is where we stand. I'm actually hoping that, it's Wednesday, so earlier this week I was hoping it was going to happen this week, but we'll see. We're applying pressure. A couple little things to wrap up with is we do have rental cars out at the airport. Victorian Carport is our rental car provider, and they actually do a good job handling the needs, but they're not a national chain. They don't have an online presence, so people often think, oh, I go online, I can't find rental cars at Manistee. Well, that's because you've got to go to the website, call the number, make the reservation, the old-fashioned way. So sometimes that is a stumbling block for people, and we're always looking at ways to improve that if we can. If you know of anybody in the rental car industry, we've got a great opportunity here. There's not a major chain rental car between Muskegon and Traverse City. This whole part of the state is underserved in that way. And then the last thing I'll mention is just kind of a little side note here is until last fall, one of the top questions we would get out at the airport from our general aviation traveling public is, what hotel should I stay at? What do you got for quality lodging? I don't get that question anymore. Everyone stays at the Hampton. I really want to thank the city for bringing a really nice property to our community, and it shines for those that use the airport. So that is my report. If you got any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
I do. I got a couple of questions for you. First off, what do you attribute that 18% increase in? What do you attribute that to?
That's a good question. I actually believe, and I also sit on the Tourism Authority Board. I think it is partly just related to the overall appeal of our community and our region to the traveling public. Cape Air, now roughly a year and a half ago, struggled post-COVID with the pilot shortage that was kind of in the news at that time. As air travel came back, there was basically this vacuum of anybody that had the qualifications got absorbed by the mainline carriers, and the smaller carriers were the victim of a lot of that. That's now kind of in some ways turned around 180 degrees, and now there's almost a pilot surplus because they overbuilt on capacity, and now, they're cutting back. And Cape Air did a lot to fix a pipeline so that they had pilots. So since they got that addressed, their performance has improved significantly. And there's a delay between having a bit of a reputation for, maybe the flights are going to get canceled, to now we don't have those issues, and it takes a while for that public sentiment to change from negative to positive. A negative comment is heard 1,000 times more than a positive comment type scenario. So it's a combination of things, but I mean, things are definitely moving in the right direction.
So the reason I'm asking that question is because now it looks like with the new bid going out, you're looking at Contour Air or the federal are looking at that.
Yep.
And if we're having success with Cape Air, I'm wondering why we don't want to.
That's a very good question. So I mentioned that the board started planning this back in January. And one of the requests that we put out to all potential bidders is demonstrate a plan to us of how you're going to grow. Because again, our funding is tied to our level of passenger numbers. How you're going to grow. And while Cape Air is doing very good, their bid was for the same exact level of service as they're providing today. We are at capacity. There is no room to grow in what they're providing. In many ways, they are the best choice, in my opinion, in certain aspects, but they weren't able to address the fundamental thing we were asking for in a bid. That is where both Boutique and Contour's bids were providing a greater level of passenger seats and therefore a more obvious way for us to grow, to achieve our goals.
Couple other questions. So you said your general aviation. So are you talking about people who have their own planes and fly in? Is that
General aviation basically encompasses everything other than commercial service. So it is small aircraft. They're generally owner-owned and flown, but it's also a lot of corporate aircraft, and it's a lot in the current environment. A lot of company NetJets. There are other companies out there where you can basically buy either a share or you're basically just chartering these aircraft for basically personal travel. So that the old model used to be, oh, you got super rich enough, you bought your own jet. No one buys their own jets anymore. They just rent one.
Okay. So in this 18% increase,
Yep.
Is that just with Cape Air?
That is Cape Air's increase, yes.
So do you get anything from the general aviation passengers or, or whatever? Do you get any?
There are fees that are charged.
Okay.
So there are landing fees. So each aircraft, and the larger the aircraft, the larger the fee is. So they are contributing revenue as well. But approximately 50% of the airport's operating budget is funded through the fees charged to Cape Air or the airline.
Okay. So you don't see like general aviation as a place to try to grow, or would it make sense to grow there?
No, it is also a place we look to grow.
Okay.
But you can't do everything. So because we are blessed as a community that has essential air service, that has historically where we've put most of our focus. I'll take an airport like Ludington or Cadillac. They don't have that, so they have historically focused in other areas. And for good or bad, Ludington has a UPS plane that lands there every day. Cadillac has the same. We don't. Those decisions happened before my time, but you focus on one or the other, and it's hard to do everything. So
certainly. The other question I have for you is: do we sell fuel to the general aviation people? Do we sell fuel?
Yes.
We do.
Yes. I mean, and that is
because that's another revenue source, right?
It is another revenue source. Yes.
And you do a lot of that. Is that been lucrative?
Yes and no. So the airline buys more fuel than all of the general aviation side, but in some ways that is unique to Cape Air. Our previous airlines didn't purchase as much fuel here as Cape Air does. And I mentioned landing fees, and those are kind of if you buy fuel, we're getting revenue through that. If you don't buy fuel, then you have to pay a landing fee. They kind of offset each other, so we kind of get them to pay whether they're buying fuel or not. But certainly if they buy a lot of fuel, there is more revenue in that, and that is more lucrative.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, we have one more presentation.
What are you doing?
We actually had two parts to our utility presentation. Bruce.
Did I not read that?
No,
No,
it wasn't on there.
So I just wanted to
The whole
clarify.
agenda has been abbreviation.
So we still have a portion of the water department,
Okay.
if we could do that.
James Riley's.
I had it queued up.
I'm James Riley, lead water operator for the city of Manistee. I'm here to give the water department annual report. I've been in the water department about 10 years and the lead role for about a year. So our water department staff, there was a complete changeover. Bruce left, Sean left, and then we brought in 2 that were already city employees, but they've been in the water department for less than a year each. In 2023, we pumped 325 million gallons of water, and that is a little higher than years past. It's probably due to the hot, dry summer we had last year. So our day-to-day operation is mostly the stuff. It's turn-ons, turn-offs, mistakes for utility markings, high bill investigation, meter repairs, and that is a majority of our day. The water department reads and maintains over 4,200 meters in the system. We read every day with a collector that's mounted in one of our work trucks. The collector, since it reads every day, it can help us identify leaks and high bills in the home as they're happening. We flush fire hydrants spring and fall, problem areas more often. This flushes out sediment and such as iron that's in the water main, and it brings fresh water into the system. We perform an analysis on the water 6 days a week to ensure the residuals of chemicals we add, such as chlorine, phosphate, and fluoride, are all within state spec. The water quality parameter testing that we do is required by the state, and it occurs every 2 weeks on our source water. It measures things like chlorides, sulfates, and the pH of the water, and it's just used to describe the condition of our water. The city has a cross-connection program. It helps ensure contamination doesn't enter the system through points of connection or leaks by the installation of backflow preventers where required. Our annual water quality report is available by brochure or on the city's website. It has information on our water as well as drinking water in general in it. The city shares 2 connection points with Filer City's water system. The valves can be opened in an emergency to supply water to either system, either us or Filer. We have a wellhead protection program. This minimizes the potential for contamination of our source water by identifying and protecting the area around any of our 4 wells. Uh, 2023's lead and copper sampling. All samples came in well below the action level, with our highest lead sample being 4 parts per billion. And our copper sample came in at 1 part per million, but everything was well within normal range. We maintain over 53 miles of water main. This includes valves, taps, service lines, and main breaks. And updates. So we're still continuing with the service line pilot program. This is a picture of a service line with a curb stop in the middle. The service line pilot program is required by the state and is used to identify size and material of all water lines in the system. We currently know about 2,800 of the 3,500 publicly owned lines in the city. And our well 8 rehab and cleaning. Well 8 recently underwent a cleaning of the screen and received a new pump bowl. Pumpage went from 800 gallons a minute to 1,200 gallons a minute, which is a fairly substantial increase. It was pretty dirty. Questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
And this might not be the right place, so I apologize in advance. But I was gonna ask it later. I've had a couple people ask, and I noticed the other day, in front of Fifth Avenue Beach, where there's those parking spots, like before the wall, like out on the street. When we get water or rain, it really seems to kind of collect there, take a while to dissipate or move. Like, is there something wrong with that area?
It, just a guess, it probably needs storm sewer. I don't know anything about it.
So part of Fifth Avenue Beach, really at Fourth Avenue and Fifth Avenue has a very small, when I mean small, I mean undersized stormwater system. That area of parking lot, when those parking spaces were built, that was not, the city did not connect that to that storm outfall. So there are just leaching structures, which basically is a void underground. The water goes in and percolates into the sand. So it takes a while.
Yeah.
And we've had some internal engineering discussions about what it would take to drain that area out, but it's kind of by design.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Do you have another question? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, citizens comment. This is an opportunity for citizens in attendance to comment on municipal services, activities, or areas of city involvement. Limited to 5 minutes. Letters submitted to council will not be publicly read.
I am Brian Chick, 276 First Avenue. Where are we at with daily rentals? I've been asking this question for quite a few years now. No answers. Our neighborhood is getting so many daily rentals, it's pathetic. Every time a house comes up for sale, it's sold and it becomes a daily rental. And then you guys are giving out tax breaks for living quarters. And the way it's going around our neighborhood, I've been there 65 years. I've lived there all my life. My great-grandparents were on the north side in the 1800s. My grandparents, now my parents. You don't even recognize the north side anymore. Do we have a map of what rentals are going on right now? Because if there is, I'd like to see it. I'd like a copy of it. I'd like a copy of what rentals you got on record, because I know there's a lot of illegal ones right now going on. Myself, we see it. At night, people rent these daily rentals. They get 2, 3 dogs. They come down the street. My wife's out after 11 o'clock yelling at people with 14-foot leashes in our yard, letting their dogs relieve themselves. I'm sick of it. Do something. Traverse City said it's illegal to have them in a residential zone. I live in a residential zone. In the early 80s, I tried to open a small part-time business out of my garage. A part-time business, a one-man operation. I told I couldn't do it because it's residential. And it would be too many cars around and people. Right now, we have daily rentals that have 6, 7 cars and more, boats, parties until after midnight. I'm retired. This is the only home I have. And I'm sick and tired of having to be the police of the neighborhood. The other day, what started this, I look out, we got somebody in our backyard walking around. Come to find out, at least it wasn't confrontational. It was an old lady wanting to know what kind of tree I had planted in my yard. But we've had kids from houses playing ball. They start thinking, well, the boundaries go here. You know, no, it doesn't do that. That's my property. And I'm looking at the city, you guys, I know it ain't a big paycheck you guys draw as council people, but damn it, do your job. Because I am not going to be doing it all the time, because if I start, the next thing I have is a lawsuit against this city that they aren't doing something about the daily rentals. This is a residential area. Now you haven't even started nothing. You never even called me back. I've called other ones, they've called me back. You never called me back. Why?
Are you
have an
commenting? This is not a question and answer time, it's just time for your
Well,
comment.
when I leave this podium, are you gonna make a comment that I can't come back up? Because
Oh, absolutely not. You have your 5 minutes, so please keep commenting.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if we don't start doing something, I'm gonna go to the other people that have been complaining too, and they can start their own lawsuits. And then you can be tied up in court with lawsuits over this. Because I'm sick of it. And you better start doing something, because the people that can't afford to buy the houses in their young couples, as soon as the house comes up for sale, somebody outbids it and makes it a daily rental. If we didn't have the daily rentals, they wouldn't be as interested, because that's how they're buying their home. There's people that own second homes in the neighborhood, and they're sick of it. So do something, and I want a list of that stuff. I want a copy of the map, and if that doesn't coordinate with what I know what's going on, you and I are gonna take a walk. You can get the chief of police to come with me. But I'm done. I'm done with this. This is years in that making. And nobody seems to do nothing about it. And one more thing, I talked to the city engineer, he can confirm that. People are putting in a lot of sprinkling systems now. Now when they put the sprinkling system in, they don't have to get a permit to put it in, so they put them in right next to the road or right next to the sidewalk, so you can't do maintenance next to that. How come there is no permit to put in a sprinkling system? If I put a fence, I have to be so far back from the sidewalk. Right now, we've got people that are putting poles in to protect their heads of their sprinkling systems. And the plows will take them off, sidewalk plows will take them off, and they can't do maintenance on the sidewalk if they gotta put a sidewalk there. I talked to the zoning board, she was supposed to get back with you guys on something too. I guess I got enough right now, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Gamble.
Mr. Chick, I'll meet with you after. If you could stick around, I'll meet with you after. Just the Army Corps of Engineer finished their dredging. I just want to provide council and also the public an update. So there was some damage due to the extensive dredging near the net shed and the river walk there. Been in contact with the project manager, Liz Wilkinson, and also their attorney, Kenneth Arts, and they do want to work with us. They do need us to submit a claim. We're going to have to figure out kind of the way to go about either, I think the first priority is opening up the river walk, probably removing the net shed, and then we have to look at a longer term solution. They're probably going to want to see us have that more stabilized in the future. So we're working with our engineer to come up with a plan. I'd like to get it open sooner rather than later, but it is going to be a process. They are providing us with data from soundings. Also, I talked with them the other day. They wanted to send us a report that should help. So we're working on it, but I don't have a timeline for it yet. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to give a quick update on the election. So we completed the 9 days of early voting, which ended on Sunday, and then Monday was our day to set up for yesterday. The 9 days of early voting, we had a total of 50 voters that participated in early voting. And then on election day, we had just over a 24% turnout. We had just over 1,000 absentee voters and 273 people total turnout at the precinct. So just wanted to give you an update on that. We didn't have any major issues. Our election workers were great, and of course city staff that helped. We get a lot of help throughout the staff in the office, deputy clerk, the utility billing clerk, deputy treasurer, and also the accountant. They all stepped up and helped. It's great to have the office help out. I really appreciate it.
Anybody else? Mr. Pratt.
I had a couple of things. In regards to the short-term rental comment, I had somebody reach out to me and they had concerns about short-term rentals, so I know it's being discussed. But two of them were brought up and they're both on Maple, and neither one of them have very big driveways, so they're constantly parking over the sidewalk. So I guess my concern with that is, with the courthouse parking lot being right across the street and various side streets, is there a way that we can talk to those rental owners and say, if you have more vehicles than what fits in your driveway, then your guests need to go park somewhere? Because people with strollers are having to push out almost into the street or onto the grass, and that's not ideal. In regards to a map, I know Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski and myself have asked for that. I don't know if we have that mapped out, because some people are really good about reporting it and some people aren't. And that's kind of the conundrum that we're in. Like, we have people that are following the system, and then we have people that aren't following the system. And I don't know that there's an easy solution to that, but I feel like we have to do something, because I'm hearing a lot of complaints from people about the ones that aren't following the system and don't have somebody to contact when things aren't maybe the best for the neighbors. And I think those are minimal things that we could ask from people.
So a couple of things. So they should not be blocking the sidewalk. That can be reported. We actually believe you reported one, or at least the other day. So the police can, we have a sidewalk ordinance that can't be blocked. Councilmember Smith did mention we were planning to have a study session, or at least on a council agenda in September to discuss short-term rentals. So that is coming up. But in terms of an actual map of it, we have some information from the Tourism Authority about it. I don't have specific, I have ones that the assessor has identified through complaints. We have some other ones we're aware of, but we did not pay Granicus to do a mapping of this for us, so I don't have that. And it does change a lot too, so it's almost a constant monitoring type situation. These do change hands, so, but we'll be discussing that more in the future.
Okay. The other thing I had was, I've had several people reach out about different communication issues over this summer, like when we were doing road projects and things like that. People claimed they didn't know 8th Street was going to be done, so they had to take 45 minutes to figure out how they were going to get home. Now I have people saying, hey, there's lots of people redoing their porches. Like, some people have braces holding the bricks up because their brick wall is like caving in, and there's no building permits. And one of the neighbors was like, when I had to do my porch, I got a stop work order. So why is my neighbor not? So I guess my question is, some communities, Ludington School was doing it for a long time with their construction project. Is there a way we could put out a newsletter, like monthly or something, even if it was just online, saying, hey, things to be aware of? Lots of people do building projects in the spring and summer, so we could be proactive about that. The other thing is weeds and things like that. It's gonna sound really childish, but some people are not, like, they can read it, they don't process it, they need a visual. So maybe we could do, you know, not okay and okay, so people could understand that a little bit better and see what you mean. I don't know, those are just some ideas I had, but there seems to be some communication gaps that hopefully we can fix. And then the last thing I had, there's been a lot of business owners in particular raising concerns about weeds downtown. And like I noticed today, I went over the bridge, like that whole section where House of Flavors used to be between the sidewalk and the road is really overgrown. I don't know if we can take a weed whacker to that or what, but there seems to be a lot of concerns. And I think blight overall is up. Like, I know just in my neighborhood, something I complained about 5 months ago is still there, and it's mattresses that have been sitting in an alley. So I'm not sure how we address that. And then lastly, I forgot about this. Has there been any reporting of issues with C-Click Fix?
In terms of?
Well, my understanding was if I use C-Click Fix and I submit it to the city, it goes to whoever on the city side that would be responsible for handling that. Then ideally, they would communicate back with me saying issues resolved or need more information or whatever. I've had several residents that say they're receiving C-Click Fixes for things that they're not even involved in. And I asked the one, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. They were able to pull up the email, and it shows the person's name who reported it and everything. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. So that seems like maybe it's not as secure as it should be, or maybe when we did some of the technology transfers, something got messed up.
No, I think that's working. I get the same emails. I think that's working as designed. When you do a C-click fix, that person can do a tick box that says, don't alert me or don't do something. But I think, 'cause I get the same ones.
But they're not submitting it.
But
And
it's an update. So if I submit something on, say, my side of the street, and you're my neighbor, it assumes that you want to know what's going on too. So it actually says in the email, hey, this is something going on with one of your neighbors near you, thought you might want to know. That's really, it's just informational as far as.
Okay.
So it's kind of to promote the system. It'll say, oh, one of your neighbors submitted something you might be interested in.
But should it tell you who submitted it?
Depending on how they submitted it.
You can submit it anonymously.
Right.
But yeah, this is the click box.
Their concern was like, what if somebody who was upset about something getting reported then got the person's name? With this day and age, and sometimes people don't take that. They were like, that could be a problem. And I guess I see their point on that a little bit. So I was not aware.
I just submit everything with your name.
No worries. But that was their concern, and I guess I kind of saw the point. And I don't think when they showed it to me, I was just glancing at it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they were under the understanding when they got it, why they got it. So I didn't know that. Maybe that was communicated in that email they received.
Okay. And if you send it to me, I can talk to Civic Plus about it. I could look and.
You.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good.
Yep, I'm all set, thank you.
Anything?
Yeah. We're coming to the end of summer, and I gotta say that I've never seen the city busier, more robust, cleaner. It looks great. I'm happy to be part of government, proud that I don't have to deny that I'm a city councilman. So, thank you for that, and thank you for the city staff for what you're doing, because I think the city has never looked better. That's all I got.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Only thing, Heather, you and your crew with the election, fantastic. It's a huge undertaking. You know, drive by quite often, and people are putting the signs out, the feather signs for vote early, and you're in there with your crew, so very much appreciate that. And Chief Glass, it's again, congratulations on your award, well deserved. So thank you.
Ms. Lundberg?
Yeah, just a couple of things. So, gosh, last time we met was before the 4th of July, so I just wanted to first off say another proud moment in Manistee. It was great to see so much going on and such a wonderful environment. I always feel so great about how we go about our 4th of July and how much fun things are happening, and it was great. Also, same thing on the voting, so seamless. We don't really, we know what's going on, but we don't know what's going on because you do it so well. So thank you very much. Chief Glass, same thing. You and your department, really great accolades to you. I wanted to just tell a little story. I helped out with the river run, the pier run thing that James Boudry and his committee did. And afterwards, I went around, I was just shaking hands with people, and some people who have been suppliers of things to our community shook my hand. I said, well, how is it going? What's going on? And they said, hey, we stayed out at TJ's, and we walked down, and we looked around, and this downtown Manistee was thriving. They said they have not seen the city feel so robust and things going on. And they said they've been coming here for a long time, and it was just really exciting for them to see all the work that we have been doing, trying to bring that about for our community. And I just thought it was really great to hear that from somebody who has been here and seen it from different viewpoints. So that made me very happy and proud too. And I wanted to share that with everyone. Aside from that, just grateful for there is so much going on, and all of our staff and council doing an amazing job, just kind of keeping on top of everything. So thank you.
Okay. I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.